Hello. So, in this dev diary, I'd like to talk about failure and sort of what it feels like. And it's tough sometimes thinking about. Well, I guess the tough part is sort of comparing myself to others. And looking at where they've succeeded, where I've come up short, and it's it's tough, and I don't know, and certainly I think comparing yourself to others is always sort of a recipe for disaster. I think that rarely goes well, but at least for me, it's something I do. So, interestingly, when the Flappy Bird saga started, to emerge, I was like really, I don't know what the right word is. I mean, I was sort of frustrated because, Flappy Bird, at least in my opinion, is not a very good game, which many have argued that it actually is, due to the popularity and stuff, and certainly I wouldn't say it's a terrible game, but, I mean, compared to the amount of love I've poured into, Retrograde, and I'm sure he made a ton of more money. I mean, I don't know, like 200 to 300, 4,000 times more money than I made off Retrograde. I don't know. I mean, technically, I don't know, maybe we're just starting to make a little money, when you count the losses. I talk about Retrograde too much. I mean, certainly Retrograde is sort of the big failure in my mind, sort of the big, I don't know, thing that keeps weighting me down, and I don't know, it's weird because I mean, like, I wish I felt good about Retrograde, and I think we did some really cool things, but I just can't shake the feeling of failure. But I mean, like, Flappy Birds is something I could do, I don't know, very, very quickly, and it seems like the developer did very, very quickly, like, develop the game, and became very, very successful to the point that he was uncomfortable with his success and then pulled the game, which is a very interesting move, and I have a lot of respect for that, because many people would ride the money train and get the Flappy Bird t-shirts out and all that stuff. You could really make a funny shirt like, Flappy Bird, my high score is 10, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, that would be a funny t-shirt, just because, it's like, high scores in Flappy Birds are so low compared to every other game. Anyway, he didn't have me in charge of marketing Flappy Birds, but, like, at least at the beginning of the saga, it's like, oh my gosh, why was I failing so much? And I mean, I don't know, and I mean, even in the mobile space, I did some contracting, consulting work on a game that I don't really like talking about, and I wouldn't really recommend you play it. Well, I don't want to get into that, but I mean, it's not like I haven't done anything in the mobile space, and while I don't think my game is really worthy of, well, it's not exactly my game, but I did a lot of work on a game, and it didn't turn out super great. But I mean, there's some, well, it didn't turn out great at all, but there's some good parts on it. And I mean, even that in and of itself is sort of like another failure, because I put a lot of hard work into it, and then, some business decisions outside of my hands really sort of destroyed everything we worked hard to create. So, another failure. And that, the mobile space, is frustrating, I think, in and of itself, because it's like playing a slot machine, and, that's one of the reasons why I'm much more comfortable working in the PC audience, And Ouya, of course, because it's like, well, firstly we can get feedback, and you know, I can know what I'm doing, if it's good or bad, and then also because I think it's a market that I understand. Whereas I think other markets, and even, you know, like the PlayStation 3 market, we didn't really have a good handle on how that worked, and so I think that created some problems with retrograde as well. So I don't know. I feel like I'm failing to communicate what I set out to for this developer diary, but I mean, it's just tough, you know. And even like with Kickstarter, I'm sort of ashamed to admit that sometimes, you know, other people's Kickstarters are very successful and really, you know, catch on fire, and you know, exceed their goal by like tenfold or whatever, and it's like, man, you know, why couldn't Neverending Nightmares be like that? And certainly, you know, on the flip side, there's plenty of really amazing projects that don't meet their funding goals, and Neverending Nightmares was one of those. And so it's I certainly count my blessings, and I'm very, very pleased with the way Neverending Nightmares worked out. But it's like, you know, it's sometimes a little frustrating, like, you know, that could have been me, but it wasn't. Why? And, you know, I mean, it's tough, because certainly I complain sometimes along these lines to my psychiatrist. Well, I guess if you have a psychiatrist, it doesn't count as complaining. I guess that's sort of what you air your grievances to your psychiatrist, and he's supposed to fix you. And I mean, obviously I've talked at great length about the failure of retrograde, and again, it still haunts me, and I guess I should qualify that, the failure financially of retrograde. Anyway, but I mean, you know, he basically said some of it's luck, right? Like, you can't 100% blame yourself for that, but I'm very good at blaming myself, so I feel like I probably can blame myself 100%. Well, no, I mean, I more or less do blame myself, like 98.5%, for retrograde. I mean, even though that's probably not fair to me, that's at least how it works in my mind. And I mean, I guess, you know, as I'm wrapping this up, I'd like to be able to say something insightful, something like, oh, I've learned how to deal with this, and this is how, but I really haven't. It's something that I struggle with, and I mean, I'd love to be, because I almost feel like a bad person when it's like, it's less, it's more challenging for me to sort of celebrate the successes of others, because it's always this competition in my mind. And I mean, I guess I'm probably too competitive for my own good, but I mean, I think, you know, their successes feel like my failures, or accentuate my failings or shortcomings, which is weird and bad, and I wish I didn't think like that. And you know, I mean, in my mind, you know, it's great that the Flappy Bird guy made a ton of money, because, you know, like, that's awesome, good for him. You know, he created something, and it's in popular culture, and you know, that's sort of the impact that a lot of people would, you know, kill to leave, and so good for him. But, you know, then in my mind, it's like, why not me? Why? Yeah, so I struggle with that. I don't have any good insights. Just figured I'd give you the update. Anyway, thanks for watching.